When you're standing at the edge of a new hobby or a small-scale business, the biggest fear is that you'll drop money on a tool that promises a lot but ends up sitting half-assembled in a corner. That hesitation is real, especially with something as niche as a desktop fiber laser cutting head. In the next few minutes I'll walk through what matters day to day, where the value really comes from, and whether the Au3tech A130M is the right fit for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the space you'll need to allocate. The A130M is marketed as a mini head, and that isn't just a marketing line. Its compact chassis actually saves a noticeable amount of bench real estate compared with the bulkier 4-inch heads you see in industrial setups. For a maker who's already juggling a CNC, a 3D printer, and a workbench, that extra inch or two can be the difference between a tidy setup and a cluttered nightmare. The compactness also means the laser tube sits closer to the workpiece, which can help with beam stability when you're cutting thin metal sheets or engraving fine features on copper. The design is modular, which shows up in two practical ways. First, if a nozzle wears out after a few hundred cuts, you can swap it out without dismantling the whole unit. That's a relief for anyone who's ever spent an hour realigning a head after a failed part replacement. Second, the manual focus knob gives you direct control over the spot size. In real use, this means you can dial in a tighter focus for delicate engraving on stainless steel jewelry, then back off a little for a slightly deeper cut on aluminum brackets without having to reboot the machine or run a software calibration each time. Now, who actually benefits from those strengths? If you're a hobbyist or a small shop owner who needs to mark or cut parts up to about 1 mm thick, think prototype brackets, keycaps, tiny gears, or decorative metal art, the A130M's 3000W fiber source is more than enough. The manual focus becomes an asset because you're likely switching materials often, and the ability to fine-tune the spot quickly saves you time that would otherwise be spent tweaking software settings. The optional nozzles expand the use case further. With the right nozzle you can start doing shallow 3D relief work, which is a neat trick for creating embossed nameplates or low-relief logos on metal sheets. On the flip side, if your workflow revolves around cutting larger pieces of steel or you need a high-throughput production line, this head will feel underpowered. The 3000W rating is solid for thin material, but it won't pierce 5 mm carbon steel in a single pass, and you'll find yourself slowing down the feed rate to avoid scorching. Also, because the focus is manual, you'll need to develop a routine for checking the focus each time you change thicknesses. That's not a huge hurdle, but for a shop that wants a push-button, autofocus solution, the extra attention becomes a bottleneck. Another practical consideration is cooling. The unit itself doesn't come with an integrated water block. You'll need an external chiller or a reliable recirculating system to keep the fiber laser tube at safe temperatures. In my experience, a 5-liter chiller paired with a simple radiator works fine for a few hours of continuous use, but if you plan on marathon sessions you'll need to budget for a larger cooling loop. That adds to the upfront cost beyond the head's price tag, and it's something buyers sometimes overlook when they compare headline specs. Safety is another area where the real-world setup diverges from the spec sheet. The A130M's optical path is designed to be precision-aligned, which means the beam stays stable once you get it set up correctly. However, any misalignment can quickly turn into an unstable cut that wanders or, worse, a reflected beam that could damage optics. The modular design makes it easier to replace parts, but it also means you have to be diligent about rechecking alignment after each swap. For a seasoned laser user, this is just part of routine maintenance. For a newcomer, it adds a learning curve. Let's talk about price versus value. In the mini laser market, you'll find a few options that either skimp on power or charge a premium for brand name. The Au3tech A130M sits in the middle. It offers a respectable 3000W output, a compact footprint, and a modular approach without the inflated price of some European brands. If you factor in the cost of a compatible laser source, a chiller, and the optional nozzles, the total investment still undercuts a full-size industrial head by a wide margin. For the kind of applications we've discussed, precision engraving, thin sheet cutting, low-relief 3D work. That price point feels justified. So, who should walk away? Buy it if you're looking for a flexible, space-saving head for a desktop fiber laser, you're comfortable with manual focus, and your material thickness stays in the thin sheet range. It's also a good match if you appreciate being able to replace nozzles and optics without sending.